Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, October 9th. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by both CJ, the Hitman Hickman, and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
Hello, friends. How are you?
Hello, friend. Jason, how you doing?
So.
You feeling like one of me my last 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like me, Jason?
Again, I'm having a bad couple of weeks as far as matchups go, but it'll be all right. It'll straighten out.
You'll get there.
Fantasy related.
Wow. Well, as everybody knows, today we're going to be having quite the packed show. We have our studs and duds recap from week number 5. We have all of our top waiver wire targets for week number 6, all the top headlines from around the league. A lot of stuff to get to. I guess before we get to that, let's do the normal rundown. Make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. We are a year-round podcast. We're here to help you guys in every step of your fantasy journey, hopefully bringing home a fantasy football title at the end of the year and through the offseason as well. All the stuff you need to know to stay informed, to make the best decisions you can for your fantasy team. Make sure you guys also, wherever you're listening, you can subscribe, but also rate the show. That helps the show out a ton. I can talk. And if you really want to go that extra mile and truly support the show, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics, where you get yourselves a bunch of bonus perks, and you really help us keep these lights on and doing what we're doing. So with all of that being said, let's move into our warm-up, which is simply, guys, what were your thoughts on week number 5?
Amen.
Jets. Holy crap, man. Where did that come from? That was a game.
Yes, it was.
LA Rams and Seattle, man. The rivalry games, man. The division games, you'll get either low scoring or you'll get a game like that where it's, you started Russell, you started Todd Gurley, you started Jared Goff, and boys went off for you, man.
Yep. A lot of overtime games, as per usual, extended gaming. So, maybe the idea of shortening the overtime from 15 minutes to 10 minutes might pay off because, they did that, as we may recall, because they were worried about the wear and tear for the following week. So, there's been a lot of overtime games so far this season. But so far, not another tie, which is good.
And speaking of that, what really, Cowboys? Really?
Hey,
that's how you want to play?
Yes,
really?
Please continue to play like that.
That was just sad. That was not.
No, it was beautiful. Good job, Cowboys. Good job.
Wow. I guess any other hot takes you guys want to throw in there before we move into our recap?
Drew Brees.
Leader, congratulations, Drew.
Ridiculous.
Yep. Yet another accomplishment and another record for just an amazing passing quarterback. So, yeah, Drew Brees, the all-time passing leader now. So, hey, well done.
Browns beat the Ravens.
What now?
Brownies.
What?
Brownies.
Can
I get a dozen brownies, please?
No, you cannot.
No? Okay.
This is very typical for the John Harbaugh era. We never travel well. We always come down after a big game, and we always play to the level of our competition. So our defense played fine. Our offense did not show up, as was painfully obvious by only scoring, 9 points the whole game. So that was just terrible.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. With that, let's move on. So let's go into our studs and duds from week number 6. Remember, our standard scoring here is exactly that, standard scoring. I know a lot of the listeners play half-point or full-point PPR, but the masses play standard, so we base off that. We also do our standard at 6-point per passing touchdown, so that's just what we do. That's the norm from when we started the show, and that's what we go forward with. So our top quarterback performances of the week, Aaron Rodgers proving he only needs half a football game to get it done. He went off for 34.68 fantasy points, 442 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Holy crap. Tom Brady also doing well, 341 yards, had 3 touchdowns, 33.54 fantasy points. Drew Brees last night, 32.72 fantasy points. Andrew Luck, 36.5 fantasy points. These are some of your top performers. 28.6 fantasy points, 365 yards.
What now?
The show doc's not in the normal order, so it's throwing me off. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
My start of the week, Ben Roethlisberger, 27.6 fantasy points. Phillip Rivers, 25.36. Russell Wilson, which was Jason's sit of the week, 25.92. And the list goes on and on. So, guys, what were some of your hot takes from some of these top performers of the week?
Well, for me, it was Ben Roethlisberger. I was, 27.60, man. It's not a bad night. I was expecting a little more. There was a couple miscues that he had. He should have really had a 30-point game. But still, gave you a weak winning performance. Still 27.60. So that was pretty good. But he should have had 30-some points.
Fair. Yeah, no, I was happy to see that. That game, the Steelers and the Falcons at Steelers was not the shootout I expected it to be, but it was still a high-scoring affair. So, I mean, hey, most of my starts of the week paid off, so that's pretty nice. I guess let's move into the running backs. Let's just keep the ball rolling. Staying in that same game, your top running back on the week was James Conner. Holy crap, 30.5 fantasy points.
Yeah, good week.
Wow. Really good week. Yeah, I love all the reports coming out now. They're saying that if when Le'Veon Bell does eventually come back, and if he does actually return to the team, they're like, it might be a committee, which I still don't think that's going to be the way it is. I mean, the Steelers are a one running back system, but I mean, 2 touchdowns, 185 yards combined. James Conner, a monster in this game, in a good matchup, to be fair, at home. So you would expect this, you'd hope for this, and wow, well done. Not too far behind him, though, Todd Gurley. 29.3 fantasy points, getting it done. 3 touchdowns in just less yardage in that game. But the one that shocked everybody, Isaiah Crowell, 29.1 fantasy points, going off for over 200 rushing yards. What? 219.
Finally.
And he also caught some balls for 12 receiving yards. Guys, what happened with Isaiah Crowell? Is Denver's defense just that bad? Or did he just had a great week? I mean, obviously the latter, but I don't know. What are your thoughts here? 15 carries is all it took, by the way. I mean, holy crap.
Okay, look, I think Isaiah Crowell's been waiting to go off. I think I've been just waiting to see him go off for a game like this because he's got this kind of ability in him. And I've been saying that for a couple of years now, that Isaiah Crowell is good enough to be this kind of player. He just hasn't had a really good opportunity to do that yet. Last week, he got a coach's foot up his backside for doing something stupid. So I think they lit a fire under him, and I think he came out there and he played to the best of his ability. And man, he looked awesome. He was running people over. He was catching the ball out of the backfield. I really loved what I saw from Isaiah Crowell.
There you go. I will say this: sell high. I'm selling high if I'm an Isaiah Crowell owner. Holy crap! Going from almost 30 fantasy points out of nowhere. You could still maybe make an argument that Denver's still a good defense if someone, is not really paying attention either. They might not tell that this is not the same defense from a couple years ago. So you could maybe flip him for something nice, something with a higher floor per se, because obviously he was great, and he's going to have good weeks for you, but his ceiling is kind of capped, and even his floor is a little unsteady with the lack of passing production. So something to take into account. Moving on, though. Saquon Barkley, 24.9 fantasy points, 2 receiving touchdowns. So it's the exact opposite of Isaiah Crowell here, like we're talking about, getting receiving work, getting more receiving yards than he got running. So, I mean, hey, getting it done. He did jam his knee, though the prognosis, I believe, as of right now, as this recording, is that he should be fine. So, I guess that happens when you hurdle a bunch of people. But yeah, Saquon Barkley getting it done like we thought he would. The surprise, another surprise, I guess I should say, Mark Ingram, 19.3 fantasy points. Alvin Kamara,
right, Mark.
Massive fade. Mark Ingram comes in, 16 rushing attempts. Caught 2 of 3 passes as well for another 20 yards, but he ran the ball for 53 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, getting it done. And I don't know, maybe this was game script. Maybe this is because they were up early, so they were just running out the clock with their bigger back. So I don't know how much you can read into this. I don't expect this to be the norm every single week, but might be another sell high candidate. I don't know. This you could really argue in either direction. What do you guys think if you are a Mark Ingram owner? What are you doing right now?
You know what? I would probably hold on to another week. For me, I would hold on for another week, and if he can be able to put up another performance like this or even more, then I'm getting whatever I can get out of him. To be honest,
Jason.
I mean, they were absolutely amazing when they had this 2 running back system last year, and Mark Ingram comes in and they score 43 points in a game. I mean, they were doing great with Alvin Kamara, but I mean, it's not a bad problem to have. They've got these 2 guys. Might as well use both of them. I think that they're going to continue doing kind of what they're doing. And it worked well last year. It's working well this year.
There you go. Hard to argue. We'll see how it plays out, obviously, going forward. David Johnson showing up in a good matchup. 19.1 fantasy points, 2 rushing touchdowns, getting it, obviously, that's very helpful because he only had 55 yards. I don't know. What are you guys doing with David Johnson at this point? Is he still a guy you're holding, or are you maybe thinking about shopping him off of a good week?
Well, I've got him, obviously. I'm holding him. He's still one of the best running backs in the league. He's still going to get the majority of the handoffs and a majority of the work. The problem in Arizona has been, and I've said this a couple times, has been the offensive scheme. It's awful right now. It's not working the way it is, and they have to see that. So at some point, that's going to change. And this team is getting better every game. Their defense clearly is getting better every game. So I think David Johnson's got nowhere to go but up from here.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of in the camp where I could see that side of thinking, but I also think that this is just a bad offense right now, and it's not the player's talent. I mean, David Johnson is still one of the top running backs in the league, no doubt, but it's the scheme, it's the offense, it's the offensive coordinator, as you're saying, and I don't know how much any of this is changing the foreseeable future. I mean, you might be able to get some solid value moving David Johnson in his name right now, or you ride or die with him and see how it all plays out. It's definitely, I'm not saying that there's a right answer one way or the other, but it's definitely something that I'm considering based on my team needs right now. So I guess we'll see. David Johnson, he was your number 6 running back on the week. And, yeah, I guess let's move on from there. Wide receiver top finishes. Jason, your sit of the week. A rough week, Jason. Odell Beckham Jr., 25.38 fantasy points. Now, to be fair,
talking crap about him.
Yeah,
that's
what it was.
Crap. He's like, you know what? I'm going to show this guy.
I mean,
he showed me.
He had a good
game.
week, no matter how you look at it, but it was capped off by a 57-yard pass to Saquon Barkley for a touchdown, so that's what really got him this number 1 finish. Without that number 1 finish, he still would have made our top list, but he would have been a little bit further down because he had a fumble. Probably would have been our running back 4, I think, roughly estimating. So, hey, Odell Beckham Jr. showing that he is still a versatile weapon in kind of the same situation what's going on in Arizona. The offense just seems uninspired, but they've got amazing talent. Odell Beckham Jr., one of the best wide receivers in the league. Saquon Barkley, we're perceiving to be one of the best young running backs in the league. So, need some inspiration, as Odell Beckham was saying, some enthusiasm. So here he is, getting it done. Robbie Anderson, a guy who we've told you to sit, trade away, and really just drop. Getting it done. Apparently, they realized they could go deep against a decent matchup against Denver. Robbie Anderson going for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did that on 3 catches, by the way, so that's still a very scary floor. He had a combined about 11 points on the season, and he goes off for 24.3. That is just ridiculous, unsustainable, and I doubt it helped very many people because he's not really that widely owned anymore. I don't know. Are you guys excited about this? Are you buying into this? If you own him, are you trading him? I don't know. I would be. I'd be trying to move him because I think that the ceiling and the floor is kind of concerning here. But Sam Darnold clearly realizing he could go deep all of a sudden. They've got some decent matchups on the horizon as well. I don't know. What are you guys doing if you are still the owner of Robbie Anderson? Or are you picking him up?
I think if you want to pick him up, I think you have to realize the situation is he's kind of like a poor man's Will Fuller right now in this offense. So a little, somewhat kind of consistency, but Will Fuller is getting a little more play in his offense than Robbie Anderson is. So I mean, if you're looking to get a part of this because you're starting to see the trend, and if they start to use them more and be able to take those deep shots, then I say, hey, why not go for it, man? Get a little part of that.
For me, I'm going to look more towards the fact that Quincy Enunwa had an injured wrist, and nobody knew about it until basically the game was starting. The word just did not get out on time, so people started him in this good matchup, and he didn't record a catch. So it looks like they used Quincy as more of a decoy, and they just kind of funneled to Robbie Anderson. I mean, we can't really say funnel because he only had 5 targets, 3 catches, but they had to be a little bit more creative. They had to use their other weapons. They have one of the best deep threat wide receivers in Robbie Anderson in the league, and Sam Darnold targeted him, and they connected a couple times for a big week. So when Quincy comes back, it becomes murkier, and I already think Robbie Anderson is a boom-bust player. So, I mean, again, depending on my team needs, I'd probably be looking to sell high on this monster performance because I don't know if he ever has a week quite like this. He may have a couple, but it's going to be probably Julio Jones-esque where there's going to be a couple great weeks and then probably a bunch more weeks that you're going to hate yourself for having him on your team, much less in your starting lineup. That would be my thought process. Do you guys see it differently at all?
I can see your process of thinking.
Yeah. All right, well, with that, let's move on. Traquan Smith, a name that you may not be super familiar with as well. He caught 2 of 3 targets for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns, obviously Saints receiver, over the Redskins last night. Again, getting it done. Deep threat, big plays, and that leads for a good fantasy finish. The floor is scary, though. Antonio Brown, number 4, 22.1 fantasy points, 2 receiving touchdowns, 101 yards, finally getting connection with Ben Roethlisberger. If you're the Antonio Brown owner, you're happy to see this finally, because he, besides a decent week 1 where he almost got to 100 yards, he's really not gone above the 60-yard threshold to this point, though he's getting a number of touchdowns. So that makes me question a league of record. How can they say this guy's not doing anything for me when he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns in 5 weeks? I'm a little bit salty about that trade. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So in our league, this is why you guys should always be trying to trade. I don't want to break it down. I just want to say some advice. If you guys are not trading, you're not trying, because you'll get people who are frustrated and they're willing to make changes, especially if they're a losing team, which this team was a winning team. Whatever. This guy traded away Antonio Brown for Cooper Kupp and James White. Now, with some of the recent James White news, that's his floor is rising. But, I mean, that's a trade that never should have happened.
I got to tell you, I got both Cooper Kupp and James White. I don't think that's that bad of a trade, because Kupp has been ridiculous this year, and James White has been actually very good. He's becoming the guy. So not a horrible trade, and honestly.
You're still trading away the best wide receiver in football for a guy who is one of 3 targets. So one of them is going to feed every week, and you never know which one's going to be. Cooper Kupp's been good. There's no denying he's had a great couple weeks he's stringed together here. But, I mean, it's only a matter of time before defenses rotate to him, and then Dalvin Cook or Robert Woods feast. James White, injuries ahead of him have kind of funneled him more towards the top. I still think he's a high-end running back 2 with running back 1 upside. I still think it's kind of a ridiculous trade. But it is what it is. The trade happened, but that's the thing.
Griffin, you don't know the individual's needs. You don't know what his needs were.
Oh, I know what his needs were.
He probably needed something, and hey, listen, the fact of the matter is, and this is just my spider sense tingling. You know what I'm saying? You've been on the plus side of those trades for so long, so just to be on the outside looking in and seeing that, I think that's what the eyebrow raising is for you. Like you wanted part of that.
Throwing a lot of random salt in there. Okay.
You wanted a lot of part of that trade. I know you did.
I mean, if you follow our message, and we're spending too much time on this, if you guys saw our secret, we have a secret Facebook group. The guy was just laughing like, he knew what he did. He got away with something there. So, and we'll just leave it at that. That's the thing, though, guys. If you're not trading or trying to trade, at least you're not trying. So, these things will happen. You'll get these people who are frustrated with their players, and they'll make big changes for values that not everybody sees eye to eye on. We'll say that. Let's see. Devonta Adams, 20 points. Adam Thielen, 17.6. Man, Adam Thielen getting it done 5 weeks in a row, topping 100 receiving yards. Holy crap. And
that's awesome.
Demaryius Thomas, which was CJ, that was your sit? 16.5 fantasy points. That's rough. Those are your top performers on the week. Top tight ends, Eric Ebron. My bench. Accidental benching. I was at New York Comic Con. That's all I can say. I thought I'd swapped him. I hadn't. 22.5 fantasy points, 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. A lot of volume, getting it done. I was pretty excited about Eric Ebron going to Indy, and it looks to be paying off. Zach Ertz, 10 receptions, 110 yards, 1 touchdown, combines for 17 fantasy points. Eric Swoop, 10.4 fantasy points. Those are some of your top performers. 2 Indianapolis Colts tight ends, getting it done.
Yeah.
I told you, Andrew Luck loves to feature his tight ends. I've been saying
Jack
that
Doyle,
for years.
get healthy.
I mean, Jack Doyle is going to replace Eric Swoop, not Eric Ebron. 2 Erics. Look at that. Spelled differently, too. One's with a C, one's with a K. Travis Kelce, 10 fantasy points. Josh Hill, 8.4. George Kittle, my start of the week, 8.3, which is sad that at 8.3 is a top performer, but that's the position group.
What's even sadder as you go down, that's still a top performer.
Austin Hooper, 7.7. Jimmy Graham, 7.6. Rob Gronkowski, 7.5. It's hard to say a lot of these are really wins, but these are top performers. 7.3 for Virgil Green and David Njoku, which, man, CJ, you're sit. 6.9.
6.9 is a top performer?
That's ridiculous.
What the crap?
Yeah. Wow. That the state of the tight end position is just
what
garbage.
Is this?
Oh.
tight end position.
I know. I can't even fault
That's what it
CJ
is.
for that because 6.9. I mean, he's right, really.
What is that? 6.9, 6 receptions, 69 yards. That's a top performer.
Yep. But
In the tight end position, yeah.
That is dumb.
Unfortunately,
That
it is.
dumb. That is dumb.
it's dumb. It's amazing because if it was a wide receiver running back, 7 points is our threshold, which means that he would have been a dud. There's no in between. Everybody got 7.3 or 6.9. There's nothing in between. So, yeah, that's the state of the fantasy tight end position. Oh, tight ends. All right, so let's rapid fire through the duds. We'll all sympathize here and try and get past the week that was.
Sad music.
Sad music. Marcus, I have sad music I could play. Where's my sad music? Let's go through this. Marcus Mariota, 4.16 fantasy points at the quarterback position, of course. Ryan Tannehill, 9.1. Josh Allen, 9.18. Though I don't know who started Josh Allen, but here we are. Joe Flacco. I hate my Ravens on the road after big wins, all the stuff I said before. 11.22 fantasy points. Josh Rosen, big dud, 12.5. Alex Smith, Jason, your start of the week. Oh, wow. 13.7 fantasy points. Dak Prescott, 13.7. Andy Dalton, CJ start, 14.92. Not quite making it to that 15-point threshold. Your duds at the quarterback position. Running back duds of the week. Dalvin Cook, he was inactive, so I guess that technically makes CJ correct. Don't play him.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, 0.2.
We did it, America.
We did it. Wow, 0.2 fantasy points. CJ Anderson, 0.9. Jay Ajayi, Jason's sit of the week, 1.4. We'll get to that news on him in a little bit. Injured, of course. Deion Lewis, 2.87. Telvin Coleman, 3. Ty Montgomery, 3.8. Alvin Kamara, 3.9 fantasy points. On a whim, because it wasn't a bad matchup, I benched Marshawn Lynch in all my leagues, and that was the smart call. 4.1 fantasy points. I started Joe Mixon in his place in a lot of those leagues coming back, and it was the right thing to do. Let's see. Devonta Freeman, 4.1. Duke Johnson, 4.2. Adrian Peterson, 4.2. Royce Freeman, 6.2. Wait, that's not right. That should be 4.2. Regardless. Latavius Murray, 5.6. Derrick Henry, 5.6. Javorius Buck Allen, 5.8. Aaron Jones, 5.9. More to talk about with him in a little bit. Devontae Booker, 5.9. Frank Gore, 6.3. And Alex Collins, 6.6. Your top duds of the week at the running back position. These guys all let you down. Wide receivers, the list goes on and on. Quincy Enunwa, 0 fantasy points. We talked about how he was injured, was active, but really was more of a decoy than anything, and that sank a lot of people's fantasy weeks. Doug Baldwin, 0.1 fantasy points. What? Jordan Matthews, 0.4. Michael Gallup, 0.6. Amari Cooper, 1. I told you guys, sell high on him. Sell high on him. Kelvin Benjamin, 1.1. Will Fuller actually got into the game, 1.5. I wasn't expecting him to play, honestly. Kenny Stills, 1.7. Zay Jones, 2. Philip Dorsett, 2.5. Danny Amendola, 3 points. Chris Hogan, 3.4. Larry Fitzgerald, 3.5. Calvin Ridley. He let a lot of people down, myself included in a couple of leagues, trying to get in on that shootout that was not a thing. 3.8. Alshon Jeffrey, 3.9. Golden Tate, 4.2. Tavon Austin, 4.4. Tyler Boyd, CJ, that was your start of the week?
Yeah, that was my start.
Oh, man, rough week for you, man. 4.4. Nelson Aguilar.
Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals, 4.5. Pierre Garçon, 4.7. Mike Williams, 4.8. That was a letdown for me in a couple leagues. Corey Davis, 4.9. Russell Shepard, 5.2. Devin Funches, 5.3. D.D. Westbrook, 5.5. John Brown, 5.8. Julio Jones. Highs and lows, ebbs and flows, booms and busts.
Not shocking.
6.2 fantasy points. Alan Hearns, 6.3. Tyrell Williams, 6.6. Michael Crabtree, 6.6. Marvin Jones, 6.8. Jarvis Landry, just barely not making it to that 7-point threshold. 6.9 fantasy points. Those are some of the most notable wide receivers that let you down this past week. And the dumpster fire that is tight end, we could just really say everyone that we didn't mention.
Pretty much everybody.
Everybody. Tyler Kroft, who a lot of people are saying, go pick up, go play. That's the guy that's replacing Tyler Eifert. I laughed at a lot of them. 0 points. Nothing.
Yeah.
Mercedes Lewis, 0 points. Ricky Seals-Jones, 0 points. Austin Safarian-Jenkins, 0 points. Jason, that was your sit, so that was a good call.
Sit.
Benjamin Watson, 0.6. Shocking on such a high-scoring game. Vance McDonald, Jason's start of the week back to back.
Yeah, now my
0.6. Whoops. Hayden Hurst, 0.7. Jermaine Gresham, 1.1. Charles Clay, 1.2. Dallas Goedert, because a lot of people are picking up and playing him now, 1.6. Antonio Gates, my sit of the week, 1.9. Jesse James, 2. Jared Cook, 2. That was CJ. That was your start?
That was my start.
Oh. Jordan Reed, 2.1. Gerald Everett, 2.4. And Kyle Rudolph, 4.1. Some of the most notable tight ends that let you down this week. Guys, any of these performances that stand out to you? Anything you guys want to say? Anything that's worth mentioning before we move on?
Screw the tight end.
I apologize for the inaccuracy this week. This was a rough week for me, and I got a couple in there, but I'll do better this coming week, I promise.
There you go. That was a decent week for me. Not all my guys I had as busts were busts. Not all my guys who I had were starts were top tier, but I was pretty happy with the week. But yeah, it was a rough week for a lot of people in a lot of fantasy leagues. This was a crazy week. A lot of games did not go the way people thought they would. So these things do happen. If games don't go the way we think they will, the stats don't reflect correctly, fantasy football, that's where it translates to. So, yep, let's move on, though, to our top headlines from around the league. We already talked about how Drew Brees passed Brett Favre and Peyton Manning to become the all-time leading passer. So there you go. Whose note was this? He's one touchdown pass away from joining the 500 passing touchdown club. Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Hey, big news.
One TD pass away.
Another record to be had by Drew Brees before the season is over. So there you go. Probably next week, if I had to guess. Let's go on with some quarterback news. Atlanta Falcons head coach Dan Quinn told reporters that quarterback Matt Ryan has had X-rays on his foot, and they're expecting him to play in Week 6. He has been cleared. No structural damage at all, so this is good news, and hopefully a better week from the Falcons. I'm trying to remember who they play. They play the Buccaneers, don't they? I'm pretty sure they play the Buccaneers in Atlanta. Let me check.
I'll go double check for you.
Yes, they're at home hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It may be divisional, but it's going to be a very good matchup. So I'm excited if I am a Falcons owner for that matchup. If does Julio Jones get going in this game? That's the question, I guess.
That's the thing.
Should be a shootout. Two bad defenses, two good offenses, but we'll see. Let's go to the running back position where we have the most news. Ian Rappaport reports that Philadelphia Eagles running back Jay Ajayi is done for the season. He has a torn ACL. He has been placed on injury reserve. That sucks. Jay Ajayi owners, what are you doing? Who is the backup CJ that they should be targeting in Philly?
You should go after Corey Clement or Wendell Smallwood. Right now, those are the two main guys. There's reports about trades for other running backs, but as it stands right now, what is solid, what's concrete, is what they already have. So I would go after one of those two guys. I'm leaning towards more of Corey Clement than Wendell Smallwood, to be honest.
Fair enough.
He's still a little banged up, though, so you got to be careful with Corey Clement.
Yeah.
Well, these are the risks we take. We'll let you guys know when we know more. Ian Rappaport also reports that the Jacksonville Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette is already ruled out for Sunday's game due to his hamstring injury. No surprise there. Everybody was expecting that to be the case, and now it is true. If you're a Leonard Fournette owner like myself, I hate that he was dropped on me. You're really hating everything right now. So
yeah,
I'd love to get one of my starting running backs back. We'll see. You can't even move him is the problem because he's played like two halves, not even like a full game combined on the season. So it's a tough situation. And the Jaguars offense, they really need this guy because they are just sputtering without him. But what are you going to do? Let's see. ESPN's Jameson Hansley reports that Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh has hinted that the Ravens may move to a running back by committee system when he was asked about why running back Alex Collins was limited to only 27 snaps versus the Browns. No duh. John Harbaugh, Alex Collins can catch the ball, but that's where Buck Allen excels. Vice versa for the running. It's a complementary two-headed approach. This is not surprising, especially with Alex Collins' fumbling problems. Though Buck Allen fumbled the ball, and he was brought back into the game, probably because the game was close. So it's a tough situation being a Ravens fan. This is why I don't target Ravens fantasy players. Never have. Never will. Well, no, that's not true. I used to target Ray Rice. I'll admit that much. But that's because he was the workhorse back. But other than that, no, not so much. Let's move on. San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said that running back Matt Breida is doubtful to play in Week 6 Monday Night Football game versus the Green Bay Packers. Dealing with that ankle injury, this is not surprising. He has been unbelievably banged up to this point and just adding more injuries. He seems to go down every single week, getting off the field. His status being doubtful tells me he probably won't play. And we'll talk about what to do in that situation in a minute. So, yeah, Matt Breida banged up. Green Bay Packers head coach, speaking of the Packers, the head coach Mike McCarthy said that he would, quote, love, end quote, to get running back Aaron Jones more involved, and more work, but he says that there is, quote, more to the position than just running the football, end quote. Guys, through the games that Aaron Jones has been back, he has been clearly the most explosive, most talented back, making something out of nothing. But the problem that Aaron Jones has had since he got into the league is that he is a terrible pass protector, and this team, this offense runs through Aaron Rodgers, and if he can't protect Aaron Rodgers, he's simply not going to be on the field that much. So that's kind of the risk that you have if you are an Aaron Jones owner. If the other running backs get hurt, obviously the situation improves unbelievably, both in his pass protection woes go away, his usages go up. But as it is right now, I think we're kind of seeing what we're seeing unless we see improvement, and time will tell. It's not a skill that they acquire overnight. You have to read defenses. I don't know. I don't expect. I mean, he's had a good floor, but I think he's kind of capped at the moment. What about you guys? What do you think?
I mean, the coach has said what is going to be said. I mean, if you can't pass protect, and you just said it, the offense runs through Aaron Rodgers, like we all know, you're not going to get that much playing time. I mean, you can probably get first and second down when you're going to be running. The defenses know you're going to be running, so you get what you get. But as far as, being an every down back, you can't be on the field if you can't pass protect, man.
Absolutely. I agree. Aaron Rodgers goes down. That sinks the Packers, and it sinks a lot of fantasy seasons, too. So, yeah, this is a tough situation. I would still be rostering Aaron Jones, though, in case things change or in case he improves. Houston Texans head coach Bill O'Brien says that he expects running back Lamar Miller to play in Week 6, dealing with a chest injury, kept him out of Week 5, so that's good news if you are a Lamar Miller owner. Let's move to the tight end position, where the Giants head coach Pat Shurmur said that tight end Evan Ingram has a, quote, shot to play Thursday versus the Eagles, of course, dealing with an MCL injury. I think he might play, honestly. This is a game that they need, and I think he should be maybe limited, but I think he should play. What do you guys think?
A short week, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that, but, I mean, hey, he's a heck of a player. And, in tight end position, we all know that it's definitely scarce. So, I mean, he's a starter. He's in a somewhat medium power offense, so I can see you making a push to go get him.
Yeah.
If you got him on your roster, you got to start him if he is going to play. If you've got a better option, obviously, then I would go with that because he's coming off of an injury, missing multiple weeks. I don't like the situation at all. But again, if you've got this kind of guy on your team and you don't have a better tight end, which you probably don't, I would probably go with him.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't like about the situation. I'm not saying I would start him. I'm just saying I think he plays. But there's a chance he doesn't. He's injured. He's on a short week, divisional game, tough defense. There's a lot of reasons that you probably have another option or there's another option out there, and I would be looking at that other option this week. Let's move on. Maybe this guy. Carolina Panthers tight end Greg Olsen confirmed that he is expecting to play in week number 6, dealing with a foot injury. Said he expects to require surgery, however, after the season. As soon as he plays, I am trading the crap out of Greg Olsen if I own him. I don't own any shares of him in my 21 leagues, but if I had him, I'd be moving him. I don't expect him to play the full season. These foot injuries, they always flare back up, and there's just nothing I like about the scenario. This is why I was staying away from him in the first place. But you got to hope if you are a Greg Olsen owner that he plays, and you hope he plays well so you can move him. I don't know. What about you? What do you guys think about him and his situation and for the rest of the season?
Too old,
I
man.
unfortunately have to agree with you. Yeah, exactly right. Greg Olsen is old, which means that his staying power is not what it used to be, and he's dealing with a foot injury. As you said, foot injuries linger, and you add in the age, it's not a good situation. So yeah, I would pray if you have Greg Olsen that Greg Olsen has a good game this week, so that you can move on from him.
A lot of things not to like about this situation, that's for sure. But if he comes back, that gives you options. You're just hopefully having him in a reserve spot right now. Other sad news at the tight end position. Jacksonville Jaguars tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins is being put on injured reserve, IR. He is expected to return, however. They're expecting to bring him back later in the season. He's dealing with a core muscle injury that is requiring surgery. That's about the extent of our knowledge of the injury as of now. So a guy who has not really done as much as we hoped he would to this point, being a bigger weapon on this offense with Allen Robinson gone. But now, at least you don't have that headache. So, I don't know. I'd honestly be dropping him. I'm not putting him in my reserve spot. I don't think he's worth rostering. You can get probably a similar tier talent, and you can save that spot for maybe a running back or something that's much more important for your team. He's not winning you any fantasy championships based on what we've seen to this point, so I would not be burning my reserve spot. A bit of other news. ESPN's Rob Dombrowski reports that the Packers will stick with Mason Crosby after a horrific 5-miss game. What the crap happened to Mason Crosby, one of the most reliable kickers?
No idea.
That was...
He was my kicker, too, and I just sat there watching and going, are you drunk? What are you doing out there?
Aaron Rodgers did everything he could to bring the Packers back in that game, and Mason Crosby lost the game for them. I'm not surprised by this news. He's been with the team for so long. He's established there. The team knows him. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes we didn't know about, but I expect him to right this ship. Now, if this continues, it'll be interesting. But as of right now, I was expecting them to stick with him. Packers, they stick to their own, and this was my expectation. NFL Network's Jim Trotter reports that the Denver Broncos have put cut Panther Marquise what?
Cut Punter.
Okay, I see it now. I don't have my glasses. Sorry. I didn't type this one up. Shut up. Have cut punter Marquette King and are placing him on injured reserve after placing him on injured reserve. I can't read. So yeah, a little bit of news there. Punter news. We don't really get into punter news that often when we're doing fantasy.
Are people too.
They are. They really are.
People too.
They're worthy of a headline from time to time. So with that, let's move on though. Why everybody's here. Our topic of the day. Our top waiver wire targets for week number 6. And I will start as I always do, and we're starting at the running back position, and I am adding San Francisco 49ers running back Alfred Morris. Guys, he's only owned in 13.5% of leagues. Matt Breida, I don't expect him to play this week. He's got a good matchup against the Packers. Even if Breida plays, he's less than 100%. I think he'll be limited in snaps. There's a lot of reasons to like Alfred Morris this week. And with teams going on bye, with running backs getting injured, if you need a replacement or a bye week fill-in, you could do a lot worse than Alfred Morris. I think that he is going to see a good floor, at least a decent enough amount of volume to make him a viable play as at least a flex option, maybe an RB2 this week. So I would be going and getting my hands on Alfred Morris if he is available, which he should be in the vast majority of your leagues. CJ, your guy.
My guy is Corey Clement, like I talked about earlier, man. Eagles, they're hurting right now at running backs. They need somebody in there. And Deuce Staley, the running backs coordinator, man, this is his guy. He likes this guy, man. He's great in passing downs. He's great in open fields. Everything with this Eagles team wants to do with their running backs, get the ball out to them quick and be able to run through the tackles and get them involved in the passing game. He's only owned in 28% of leagues, so he's probably out there for you in your league. So say go out and get him, man.
There you go. Jason, your guy.
My guy is Naheem Hines out of Indianapolis. This dude is really good at catching passes out of the backfield as well as rushing. His rushing numbers need to get a little bit better, obviously, and it'd be nice if he scored himself a touchdown. But the past 2 weeks have been pretty good. He's gotten involved quite a bit. I think he's going to be more involved. He's pretty much the starter, and he's available because he's only taken in 14.6% of leagues.
There you go. Wide receiver targets. I am targeting a name that you're probably going to say, who? Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
going on there.
That's a long name. I'm gonna call him MVS like we do Austin Seferian-Jenkins, ASJ.
What is Jobber for 300?
MVS, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Look, there's risk involved in this. It's a little bit of a long shot, but the Packers, they play Monday Night Football, and the thing is, he played well this week. He had 7 receptions on 10 targets, 68 receiving yards, and a touchdown, and I expect that volume to continue. He's playing out of the slot, so he's a high-volume target. He's great for PPR leagues, and if either Randall Cobb or Geronimo Allison, hamstring and concussion injuries, as it were, if either one of them miss week 6 like they did week 5, I think he's in a great position to give you another very good week. I think he has a not a low floor. I think he's got a decent floor, especially in a PPR league of any format, and a high ceiling because he's a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. High touchdown wide receiver. That's all you need to have a good week. And so if you have a 3 wide receiver system, or maybe you need a waiver, a flex option, or a wide receiver 2, maybe even, he could be a guy that you could be looking at, especially with bye weeks coming up. So he's a guy I'd be looking to add. And then you know what? I wouldn't burn a lot of waiver priority on him because we don't know about Cobb or Allison, but it's definitely a guy worth trying to at least pick up on the cheap, and then you can adjust going forward. But he could be a high ceiling play, so I would be picking up NVS Marquez Valdez Scantling, as you'll have to look for him. There's a hyphen between the Valdez Scantling as well, so yeah, that's it's quite the name. CJ, your guy. Actually, I really like your one, CJ.
Mine is Christian Kirk for the Arizona Cardinals. Listen, man, he made a nice play last week, and guess what? You know, right now, this type of the year, man, if you're in deep leagues, man, you're looking for some spark. You're looking for some spark and see if you get a little consistency in some offenses. And right now, I'm liking what Josh Rosen and Christian Kirk got going on, man. I think this is a building block for something down in later on in the year, weeks to weeks, that they can be able to build on. And he's only owned in 11% of leagues, man. So that's good. That's good. That means he's out there.
There you go. Jason, your guy.
That was a good pick. All right, my guy out of Houston, Kiki Cody. I said that name right? Kiki Cody.
Kiki Cutie.
Cootie.
It's probably Cody.
Cody.
So this
Coutee. However you spell that.
Right. Over the last 2 weeks, he's gone for 109 yards receiving, and then this last week against Dallas went for 51 yards and a touchdown. This is somebody that has become a really nice complementary piece to DeAndre Hopkins, and Watson likes finding him with the football. So he's been targeted quite a bit recently. I like what I'm seeing out of him. He's been pretty consistent over the last 2 weeks, and he's only owned in 3.1% of leagues, so he's out there for the grabbing, and I go out and grab him if I were you.
There you go. And moving to the tight end position, I am targeting Cameron Brate. He was my pickup last week. A lot of you didn't grab him because he's still only owned in 7.3% of leagues. Guys, we have seen Cameron Brate and Jameis Winston connection in the past. It is very good. And I just don't know why people haven't run out there and got him yet. O.J. Howard is still gone. He's hurt. He's going to be out for a couple more weeks at the very least. And so I have Cameron Brate as a tight end 1 going forward until O.J. Howard comes back. We've seen the connection, high touchdown upside, explosive offense. I am absolutely trying to roster Cameron Brate. If he is available, go get him. You will not regret it. Yes, it may be limited time, but that rental is exactly what you need to probably get you through some bye weeks. So go get him, especially because, hey, guess what? He's past his bye week. You won't have to worry about that. Go get Cameron Brate. CJ, your guy.
My guy is the guy that is going to take over for Tyler Eifert in this offense. And it's not that Tyler Croft guy. No. Part 2 of Laura Croft's movie. No, CJ Uzama, that guy. That's the guy in the offense that you want to get in the tight end position, man, because he gets the catches. He gets the opportunities, man, and he's only owned in 26% of leagues, man, so that means he's out there. And look, we know this tight end position is a dumpster fire. So you need something that's going to be able to produce, man. And this guy, he will produce. He's done it in the past, and he's going to do it again.
Jason, take us home.
All right, my guy is Jeff Swaim out of Dallas. He caught 3 of 5 targets for 39 yards and a touchdown against Detroit, and he went for 55 yards against Houston. One of the main reasons I'm picking this guy is because he's passing the eyeball test right now. Dak Prescott is starting to look for him. He's starting to find him in clutch situations. I really like what I'm seeing develop between Jeff Swaim and Dak Prescott. I would definitely grab him because I think his usage is going to start to rise. And he's only owned in 1.1% of leagues. So guess what? He's available.
Was he? Who did I pick up after I didn't get a chance to start Eric Ebron? Hold on. I got to look at this now. I got
someone else.
Who did I
It was
pull?
good radio.
Yeah, it was him. It was him that I started. 55 yards. All right, well done by me. All right, so yeah, that's the show, guys.
Don't break your arm off, pat yourself on the back.
He's owned in 1.1% of leagues, and I owned him and started him and got a payoff. So, Yeah,
All
I'll take
right.
that.
Are we done here?
We can be done,
Hold on.
yeah. All right.
Nice.
CJ's just mad. I won all 21 of my leagues. I'm just happy, okay? Let me have this. So that does it for us. Please make sure you guys tune in on Friday when we'll be talking about our top starts and sits for week number 6. Guys, as always, make sure you subscribe, follow the show, get your questions in at the FF Fanatics. And look, we get a lot of people who write in saying, you didn't answer my question. Guys, we get a lot of questions. We're doing our best to get to all of them. And so just keep sending them in. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. And you can also send them to us individually or just connect with us and follow us individually on Twitter. I'm at GPalmerFFF. CJ is at CJ Hickman89. Jason's at Jason Cabrera13. And you can also support the show, as we mentioned, on Patreon, where there is priority question answering. Just putting that out there for subscribers. That help us keep doing what we're doing. So, yeah, guys, any parting thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Guys, have a good week. This was a rough one. This was a weird one. Things are going to even out a little bit, so just bear with it.
There you go. All right, with that, we're out of here, everyone. Take care. Have a great week. We will see you on Friday. Bye.